Imagine this. You're out in the dense forests of Maine, far from any trail, when you stumble upon a forgotten tent, its fabric torn and weathered, surrounded by scattered belongings that whisper of a nightmare. But what if the real horror isn't what was left behind, but who or what took the young couple who vanished there months ago? Hey, don't forget to like. Please subscribe for more shocking crime stories and hit the bell icon. The darkest truth are yet to come. The fog hung low over the Acadia National Park entrance like a shroud on that crisp October morning in 2022. Emily Harlan's hands trembled as she gripped the steering wheel of her SUV, her eyes scanning the parking lot for any sign of her daughter, 18-year-old Mia Harlan, and Mia's boyfriend, Lucas Reed, also 18. They were supposed to be back from their weekend camping trip by now, not just late, but utterly silent. No texts, no calls, nothing but voicemail echoing in the emptiness. Mia had painted the picture perfectly. A quick getaway to a family-friendly site in Acadia, complete with ranger patrols and bonfires. Emily had hesitated at first. Mia was her only child, and Lucas, with his rugged charm and history of minor rebellions, always set off a quiet alarm in her mind. But Lucas had sworn it was safe, showing maps on his phone, promising they'd stick to the marked paths. Emily's husband, Tom, had backed him up, trusting Lucas's outdoor skills from years of scouting. Reluctantly, they'd let them go. Now, as Emily pulled into the lot, her heart sank. No sign of Lucas's beat-up Ford pickup. She approached the ranger station, her voice cracking as she described the kids. The ranger, a weathered man named Ellis, flipped through the logs with a furrowed brow. No registration under Harlan or Reed. They hadn't checked in. Emily's world tilted. She drove the loops herself, headlights piercing the mist, calling out their names until her throat burned. Nothing. The lie hit her like a gut punch. They'd gone somewhere else. Deeper. Hidden. Back home in Portland, the families converged in a haze of panic. Lucas's parents, Sarah and Mike Reed, arrived pale-faced, clutching a printed photo from Mia's last text. A selfie of the pair, grinning in hoodies against the backdrop of jagged rocks, like they were tucked into a natural alcove. "On our way, love you," it read. That image became their anchor and their torment. By midnight, they were at the police station, filing the report. Missing persons, Mia Harlan and Lucas Reed. The deception blew the search wide open. Not a cozy park, but potentially the vast, unforgiving wilds of Maine's interior. The Maine State Police mobilized fast, knowing the clock ticked louder for teens in autumn's chill. Teams fanned out from Acadia, assuming a detour gone wrong. Helicopters buzzed overhead. K-9 units sniffed through underbrush slick with rain. But days blurred into a week with no trace. Cell pings dead-ended near the park entrance, useless in the spotty coverage. Friends were grilled. Had they heard whispers of a secret spot? Most shook their heads, but one, a classmate named Josh, hesitated. Lucas had borrowed his high-end backpacking compass a week prior, mentioning real wilderness vibes away from crowds. That compass led investigators to Lucas's laptop at home. Forensics uncovered deleted browser history, searches for remote trails in the Allagash Wilderness Preserve, far north near the Canadian border. Maps downloaded, routes plotted, not to Acadia, but to a labyrinth of rivers and forests where cell service vanished and bears roamed. The realization crushed the families. Why the secrecy? Mia, the straight-A student with dreams of college, and Lucas, the adventurer pushing boundaries. Had they craved isolation that badly? Search efforts pivoted north, but the Allagash was a beast. Over 92,000 acres of dense pines, winding waterways, and terrain that swallowed hikers whole. Ground teams slogged through mud, calling names into the void. Aerial surveys spotted nothing amid the canopy. Emily clung to hope, picturing them lost but alive, huddled by a fire. Sarah Reed broke down in interviews, blaming herself for indulging Lucas's independence. Tension simmered between the families. Tom Harlan quietly wondering if Lucas's influence had pulled Mia into recklessness. Weeks dragged into November, the vibrant leaves rotting underfoot as snow threatened. The case cooled, headlines fading. For Emily, every night was a replay. Mia's laugh, her plans for the future, now suspended in limbo. Imagine if your child vanished like that, poof, into thin air, and all you had left was a selfie smiling back at you, mocking the unknown. I first heard about this case from a local Maine newsletter clipping a friend sent me, and it's haunted me ever since. The way ordinary choices spiral into something unimaginable. Then, in early December, a break came from an unlikely source. A forestry contractor named Derek Voss was surveying timber lots in the Allagash, miles from any road, his boots crunching over frost-kissed ground. The air was biting, the woods silent save for distant crows. He was off-grid, mapping old growth, when he veered around a fallen oak and spotted it, a small clearing, unnatural in its disarray. A blue two-person tent slumped like a deflated balloon, zipped shut but coated in grime and pine needles. Around it, debris, empty energy bar wrappers, a tipped-over cooler, sodden clothes draped over branches. Voss approached warily, thinking squatters or poachers. No smoke from the coal fire ring, no voices. He snapped photos on his phone, noting the coordinates for a report. Illegal camping was common, but this felt off, abandoned mid-stay. Hiking back to his truck took hours. Signal returned, and he called it in to the wardens. "Looks like someone just up and left everything," he said. Warden Kate Moreno arrived the next day, expecting trash duty. The trek was grueling, her pack heavy with gear. The site matched Voss's description: eerie stillness, the tent sagging under dew. She documented it all, then unzipped the flap. Inside, chaos, sleeping bags rumpled, a flashlight dead on the floor, backpacks half-packed. In one, she found a wallet. Flipping it open, her breath caught. Lucas Reed's ID stared back. This wasn't litter. This was the missing couple's camp. Moreno radioed urgently, sealing the area. Crime scene text descended, transforming the quiet glade into a hive of activity. Photos clicked, evidence bagged. Water bottles with fingerprints, food scraps for DNA. No blood, no struggle marks in the dirt. But the abrupt abandonment screamed foul play. Why leave it all? Had they fled something? Near the fire pit, buried under leaves, a tech unearthed a crumpled foil packet, bright purple, labeled Bliss Bites, with a warning: THC-infused gummies, potent and illegal for minors in Maine. The pieces clicked. The secrecy, the remote spot, a teenage rite of passage, experimenting away from eyes. But in that wilderness, impairment could turn deadly: falls, wildlife, disorientation. The discovery ripped through the families like wildfire. Emily collapsed upon hearing the edibles, confirming her fears of hidden risks. Sarah defended Lucas fiercely. He was a good kid, just testing limits. Publicly, accusations flew. Tom Harlan implying Lucas dragged Mia into danger, Sarah retorting Mia might have encouraged it. Media latched on, speculating. Did they overdose and wander off? Encounter a bear? The edibles became the villain, a symbol of youthful folly. But deeper searches yielded more. 100 yards out, along a steep embankment overlooking a rushing stream, searchers found Mia's necklace. Silver chain snapped, pendant engraved with her initials. It lay twisted in the mud as if yanked in a scuffle. No body below, despite repelling teams combing the rocks. The necklace haunted Emily. She'd given it to Mia for her 16th birthday. Half a mile away on an overgrown access trail, barely a path through brambles, investigators spotted tire impressions in sheltered clay. Not from Lucas's truck, still missing, but wider, deeper treads suggesting a heavy-duty ATV or off-road rig, the kind used by locals, or those skirting the law. Theories clashed: accident from drugs or something sinister. The tire tracks whispered of intruders. Had they crossed paths with hunters? Smugglers? Maine's border with Canada was porous here, riddled with unofficial crossings for drugs or worse. Investigators chased the edible source. Friends cracked under pressure. Lucas bought them from a low-key dealer in Portland, a guy named Kyle who peddled to college kids. Kyle hauled in, sweated bullets. Lucas wanted something strong for their trip, he admitted. Said they were meeting someone for an epic off-trail adventure. Sounded sketchy, but I didn't ask. That bombshell exploded the case. Digital dives into Mia's phone records, recovered from backups, revealed chats on a hiking app with an anonymous user. Wildman87. Promises of hidden spots, survival tips, a meetup in the Allagash for true freedom. Coordinates matched the camp. Was this a lure? A predator? Forensics traced Wildman87's IP, bouncing through proxies, but leading to forums on off-grid living, survivalist groups thriving in Maine's fringes. The user vanished post-disappearance, profile scrubbed. Had Mia and Lucas been catfished into danger? The lead fizzled, resources drained, families fractured further, Emily obsessing over the online trap, Sarah clinging to accident theory. Winter buried the search under snow, hope freezing with it. But spring 23 thawed more than ground. An unrelated bust in Bangor, a raid on a warehouse tied to cross-border ops, yielded a name. Victor Klein, a shadowy figure with Eastern European ties, known for smuggling routes through the Allagash. His vehicle? An ATV with matching treads. Surveillance ramped up on Klein's rundown cabin near the border. Erratic movements, bulk supplies hauled in. A tip from a neighbor. Strange cries at night, windows boarded, warrants brewed. Imagine lying awake knowing your child's fate might hinge on a monster like that. Would you demand justice or crumble under the weight? This case stuck with me because it reminds us how thin the line is between adventure and abyss. As teams closed in, the truth began to unravel. But what they found inside that cabin would shatter everything. As the snow melted into muddy torrents in the spring of 2023, the Allagash wilderness seemed to exhale, its secrets thawing with the ground. Victor Klein's cabin, a squat, weathered fortress on the edge of Maine's border with Canada, stood like a predator blending into the pines. For weeks, investigators had it under a microscope. Undercover teams perched in nearby ridges, tracking Klein's every move. He was a ghost in motion, slipping into town for jerry cans of garum, coils of rope, and crates of canned beans, always scanning his rear view, his shoulders hunched like a man expecting a knife. The air carried a chill beyond the weather, heavy with the weight of what might be hidden inside those walls. Klein wasn't just a recluse. Customs and Border Protection had him pegged as a linchpin in a shadowy Eastern European syndicate, Romanian-born and with a rap sheet of whispers, drug runs, weapons smuggling, and whispers of human trafficking across the porous border. His ATV seized in a Bangor warehouse bust matched the tire tracks near Mia Harlan and Lucas Reed's abandoned campsite, wide, aggressive treads built for dodging trails and law. Emily Harlan, Mia's mother, hadn't slept properly since September. Her nights spent clutching that selfie of Mia and Lucas, their grins mocking the void. "I should have stopped her," she murmured to Tom, her voice raw. Sarah Reed, Lucas's mom, carried a different guilt, encouraging her son's wild heart, thinking it would forge him, not break him. Surveillance was a grind. Klein was a professional, switching between a beat-up sedan and rental SUVs, doubling back on dirt roads, pausing to stare into the dusk as if sensing eyes. Detectives cataloged his hauls, padlocks, industrial bleach, enough supplies to outlast a siege. A neighbor, an old trapper named Gus, tipped the scales. "Heard screams one night," he told police, voice low. "Thought it was a fox, but it was too human, too desperate." That was enough for a high-risk warrant, the kind that knots your stomach, knowing you're walking into a potential nightmare. Emily, briefed in a sterile precinct room, gripped Tom's arm, whispering, "Please let her be alive." Sarah alone, braced for the worst, Lucas's absence a shadow she couldn't shake. The raid hit at 4:17 a.m., April 12, 2023, under a sky bruised with storm clouds. SWAT moved like specters, boots silent on frost-slicked earth. The cabin door exploded inward under a battering ram, the splintering wood a gunshot in the quiet. "Police, hands up!" echoed as flashlights sliced the dark. Klein erupted from a cot, swinging a crowbar with feral rage, eyes blazing. It took 3 officers to wrestle him down, his curses in broken English spitting venom as cuffs clicked tight. The cabin stank, stale sweat, disinfectant, in a metallic tang that set nerves on edge. A sweep turned up little at first. A bare cot, a propane stove, crates of survival gear stacked like a doomsday prepper's dream. Then a hidden safe, cracked open with a torch, spilled its guts. Passports with names from distant countries, rolls of Canadian bills, a burner phone flashing encrypted texts. The real terror waited below. A steel door, triple-bolted and padlocked, guarded the basement stairs. The air grew colder with each step, thick with dread, as if the cabin itself was complicit. Officers breached it, flashlights cutting through dust and shadow. The stench hit like a fist, human waste, mildew and raw fear. In the center, under a flickering fluorescent bulb, sat Mia Harlan. Alive but barely, curled into herself, wrists chafed raw by chains bolted to a pipe. Her once lustrous hair hung in clumps, her skin pale and bruised, a map of suffering. She flinched at the light, whispering, "No, don't hurt me." The sight broke the team. A veteran sergeant turned away, swearing under his breath, fists clenched. Medics rushed in, cutting the chains, wrapping Maya in a blanket as she trembled like a trapped bird. "You're safe now," a paramedic murmured, but her eyes, wide, haunted, didn't believe it. She rasped her name, her age, 18, voice brittle as winter twigs. At the hospital, Emily and Tom found her in ICU, IVs snaking life back into her fragile frame. Emily collapsed, sobbing, clutching Maya's hand, as if letting go would lose her again. Tom stood rigid, fury burning behind his eyes. Sarah Reed arrived alone, hearing no Lucas, and crumpling, her hope snuffed out. The families, once fractured by blame, now shared a silent grief, their pain a bridge across the divide. Klein, cuffed in a gray interrogation room, was a wall of ice at first. His slate-gray eyes gave nothing, lips curled in a faint smirk. But the evidence was a tidal wave. Maya's DNA on the basement chains, Lucas's blood specks on the ATV's frame, fibers from her hoodie caught in the cell's bolts. Detectives pressed, voices low, relentless. "It's over, Victor." Look. Days later, Mia, propped in a hospital bed, found the strength to speak, her words a slow, jagged unraveling of the nightmare, each sentence carving deeper into the family's hearts. That September night, Mia and Lucas had craved a rebellion against the grind, school, rules, the suffocating weight of being good kids. The Allagash was their escape, a raw, untamed canvas for freedom. They'd pitched their tent, lit a fire, and popped the bliss bites, the THC gummies melting into giggles as the forest blurred. "We felt untouchable," Mia whispered, tears spilling. So stupid. They didn't hear the snap of twigs, didn't see Klein until he stepped into the firelight, rifle slung low, face hard as granite. He'd been running fentanyl across the border, using the Allagash's maze of logging trails to dodge patrols. Their campfire was a flare in his hidden world, a mistake he couldn't afford. Lucas, high but fierce, shoved Mia behind him, shouting, "Get out!" Klein didn't hesitate. The fight erupted fast, spilling toward the embankment by the stream. Mia's necklace snapped as she grabbed Lucas, pleading. Klein swung the rifle butt, a sickening crack dropping Lucas to the mud, blood pooling dark. Mia screamed, frozen, as Klein seized her, zip-tying her wrists, blindfolding her with a rag. Lucas lay still, the stream's roar swallowing his fate. Klein dragged her to his ATV, the ride a blur of jolts and terror, ending at the cabin, where the basement became her cage. The cell was a nightmare. Concrete walls, a bucket for waste, a thin mattress. Klein fed her scraps, taunted her with promises of buyers in Quebec, part of a trafficking ring that turned people into profit. Months dragged, marked only by scratches Mia carved into the wall, a silent defiance. "I heard Mom's voice in my head," she told detectives, saying, "Don't give up." Klein's routine was calculated, checking her chains, leaving for days, returning with supplies and threats. She learned his patterns, praying for rescue, clinging to memories of Lucas's laugh. Imagine if one reckless night led you straight into a monster's grip. Would you hold on or let despair win? This case hit me hard when I stumbled across it in a Maine crime blog, its details seeping into my thoughts like damp rot. It's not just the horror, it's the fragility of trust, the way a single choice can rewrite lives. Klein's confession came slow, pried out by relentless questioning and damning evidence. He admitted the ambush. Lucas was a threat, too bold for his own good. The boy fought like a wolf, he sneered, claiming the stream took the body after a fatal blow. Mia was an opportunity, a prize for his trafficking contacts. He'd rigged the basement months prior, a soundproofed cell for holding cargo, human or otherwise. His network was vast, exploiting the border's chaos, moving drugs and people with surgical precision. But Lucas's remains? Klein played dumb, muttering about currents and rocks, his smirk a final cruelty. Divers scoured the stream for weeks, dragging nets through rapids, finding nothing but silt and ghosts. The family stood on the banks one gray morning, Emily clutching Maya's necklace, Sarah staring into the water as if it could give her son back. The trial came fast, Klein's guilt a foregone conclusion. Mia's testimony, delivered in a courtroom thick with tension, was a blade, clear, trembling, unshakable. Murder, kidnapping, trafficking, life without parole. Emily watched, the necklace now a talisman of survival. Sarah sat alone, Lucas's absence a wound that would never heal. Post-trial, the families rebuilt fragile bonds. Sarah visited Mia weekly, sharing stories of Lucas's pranks, his heart, forging a bittersweet connection. Mia, in therapy, turned pain into purpose, speaking at trafficking awareness events, her voice a beacon for survivors. Emily marveled at her daughter's strength, though nightmares still woke them both. The Allagash kept Lucas's body, a final secret. But Mia's survival was a defiance, a light in the dark. Sometimes I lie awake, thinking of those woods, how they hide monsters, how one lie can unravel everything. This case isn't just a crime, it's a mirror, showing how close we all are to the edge, how freedom can turn to chains in a heartbeat. Well, have you ever heard of a case like this? Comment your thoughts. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and catch you in the next one.